Okay, I think we can start. All right, let's do a recap of Module 1. So to recap, we'll talk about what JavaScript and TypeScript is. This code, always code as if the guy who ends up maintaining your code will be a violent psychopath who knows where you live. How do you prevent that? TypeScript, because with TypeScript, you can maintain your code better, okay? TypeScript is a superset of JavaScript. JavaScript lives in the browser and also lives in the server side, okay? TypeScript offers this type safety functionality. Basically, it adds type to your syntax so that you avoid, you lessen your errors by giving you compile time errors, okay? But still, it doesn't really, study says that it doesn't really give a lot of impact in reducing the overall runtime errors, which JavaScript has. Okay, so also we'll do a quick recap of Module 1, and let's do some coding. Right now we have 3 windows. First on the top left would be your TypeScript. Down here is your JavaScript file, and this is just a browser opening with the console open using the developer tools. So if I hit save and just refresh this other side, it's nothing, okay? Nice. So, rate me a keyword. Yes, what's the keyword for local? If you want local scope. Anyone can help. What else can you use for local scope? Yep. How about a global scope? Awesome. So in programming languages, we define that as our keywords. Sometimes we say it as a reserved namespace or reserved keyword. Why is that? It means that you can't use var as a name of your variable. You can also use const as a name of your variable. Same goes with let. Okay, let's start going with numbers. Delete all of them. Have a variable const name y and assign a value of 3. And let's use const. Let's use const on the y. On the y, yeah. Okay, let's try to log that out of the console. Console, okay. And variable name and semicolon. Okay, hit save. And then I have it automatically compiling, and I can just refresh this. Okay, it's 3. Choose the next person, pass it. Let's talk about precision loss. We didn't go through that deeply last time. With your const y, can you put 0.2 plus 0.1? Sorry, I'll click that here. Your const y, please assign a value of 0.2 with the operator of plus sign and also a value of 0.1. Okay, hit save. Before I show you the output, what is the output? Okay, 0. What else? You don't get errors. I think you get not 0.3, but let's refresh that. 0.3 with a lot of zeros and 4. This is very bad. So as a best practice, you can pass that to the next person if you want. As best practice for doing this simple mathematical computations, what people usually do is with the number of decimal places you have, please multiply all the values by 10, each of them, multiply them each one, and then add them together. And after that, enclose them in the parentheses and divide it by the same 10 number. Okay, so the first value, multiply it by 10, plus the second value, multiply it by 10. Enclose them and divide it by 10. Okay? Okay, enclose both of them in parentheses and divide them all by 10. Yep, another divided by 10. Yep. Slash 10. Okay, it's saved. I'll refresh that for you. And then now we've dealt with precision loss. Okay, it's 0.3. Now the next question is, you can pass it to the next person. Can you change the 0.2 to 0.02? Okay, what do you think would be the output? Is it another precision loss? Is it an error, or would it give you a number? Precision loss. Correct. Again, because we incorrectly multiplied it, right? It's incorrect value. Okay? So what would we do here is grab the largest decimal places, and you can add, instead of multiplying 10, please multiply by 100, each of them, and divide them all by 100. I'll hit save for you and refresh that. Okay, that should be good. Because an example that would break this is, let's go back to this one, I think. Oh, I guess that's it, yep. So next, let's do a numeric string. You can pass it to the next person. Clue, it's numeric string. Please assign const y with a numeric string, any numeric string. Amanda? Assign a numeric string to the variable y. So you can go ahead and delete that. So const y, we still use the const keyword. And just delete the right-hand side of the equal sign. Okay, assign a numeric string. How do you do that? Yeah. There you go. Cool. That's a numeric string. How else can you create a numeric string? So that's a double quotes. What else can you do? Yep. What else? That's a tilde. Okay. Cool. Okay. Give it to the next person. Give me an example of type coercion. Jacob. Give me an example of a type coercion. So you can choose any two variables. Okay. You can put x and y. So create a variable named x using const keyword, and create a variable y with the const keyword, and assign two different data types. So you can assign a number in one of your variable, and you can assign a, yes, that will work, but how can you convert it into a string? There you go. And let's say you have a const z and put a number. Equals a number. Okay, can you please log that out to the console and concatenate or add them together? So basically, just use the same console.log. And the syntax is open parentheses. Okay, you can do y plus z. And semicolon. Okay. See. Doesn't let me? There you go. Why is that? It become console.log language. Interesting. Even I don't know why is it like this. Okay. Okay, let's try putting this in just JavaScript. I don't know if it doesn't allow you in TypeScript though. So let's see. This one. Let's remove this one. Why it's not defined? Oh, there you go. There you go. Again, don't forget when you have the plus operator, it can either concatenate strings or add numbers, okay? So moving on, I'll take over. Let's quickly do a for loop. Thank you for participating. Okay, for loops. Let's quickly do that. For. So what is the first statement and the second statement and the third statement? So basically the first statement is where you initialize your variable. Okay, that you would use for your loop. The second statement, which is this one, okay, is something like this, is your loop evaluation. So every time it goes to the loop, it evaluates first if the condition is still true. If not, it goes out of the loop. And this increments your variable. So what seems to be wrong in this statement that I made? Aside from the space. Correct. What else is my mistake? What else is the mistake here? Because it's still showing me curly stuff. Semicolon. Okay, almost there. Awesome. Okay, so this should work. And another neat trick for productivity, when you have this IntelliSense, you see the console highlighted, just hit tab. And then let's see, count, access that variable with the backtag. There you go, works. Okay. Do you still have any questions from module 1? Okay, let's proceed. So let's do the same thing. I'll go through over the code and reinforce you with the slides. So let's go over with objects. So in objects, you can also have a variable name. smiley morphin. Okay. Also in objects, you need to, let me just close this terminal. You can assign, you can create an object using curly braces. Don't forget to put a semicolon afterwards. So what do you put there? So basically objects is another, objects are where you can put data in an unordered structured way. Basically you use it when you have key value pairings. In JavaScript, they call it property and property values, but you can also call it key and values. That's why key value pairing. So how do you create one? So let's say you have a TV show. Let's just make this clearer. TV show. And then Power Rangers. Yep. So basically that's how you put a key value pair. So the key is a string. That's the convention. I don't know if you can put a number, but people don't really put numbers there. It's a string all the time. On the right-hand side of the key value pair, you can put a string, a number, or an array. Okay, now let's utilize a TypeScript. So let's say we want to lock on the type in. We put a square bracket, we put key, and let's say it should be a string. Okay, and then next, the value, we want it to be, let's say, a string. String, and this one. Another bracket. There we go. Let's see what's wrong here. String only refers to a type, but is used as a value here. It's wrong. This should work. I think I just got the syntax wrong. So key string and then string. And then let's say we also want to put some array there. Huh. Weird. I'll quickly look that up. TypeScript objects. Okay. I guess that's a different notation. Let's say different version. Let's see this one. Oh yeah, here you go. Typo. So to use the TypeScript feature, we first put a, what's it called it? A colon, and then open and close brackets, the types that you want. This is the syntax. First, the key. You should define your key, and it should be a string. You put a data type string. And on the right-hand side, you put what the values you'd like to be. Okay, so right now, let's keep it simple. It's a string. So let's say we put another key value pairing, year, and put a number. It's not letting us. It says the type number is not assignable to type string. So what we do with that is use the pipe operator. Okay, it means or union. And then let's say we want number as well. So that now allows it. Yep. Yes, so any value, whenever you use any value, it's kind of dangerous because it's like you're going back to type JavaScript. Because JavaScript is any. Yep. So if you can define as much as you want, that's good. Mm-hmm. Any input, yes. So if you put any, yep, that's the keyword. Okay. Now, how do you access these key value pairings? There's two ways. One is the dot notation, meaning you use a dot, and the other one is the bracket notation, square brackets. So let's say we want to access the TV show, okay? But first, let's access the object. So let's log that out. Keep morphing, fresh. It's kind of different for now, but we'll go with object-oriented programming and hopefully clears up. But basically now we're using objects as a way to store data. So if you remember, you can also do like a hash table. It's kind of similar for a section. Also in objects in JavaScript, they are commonly called Json, JavaScript object notation. Okay. So the way you access the object, because we assign it to a variable, we can just say console.log the variable name, and in our console, it would show the object. Okay, so say we just want to access the TV show. So we can use the dot notation, but it won't let us. How about here? It does. So because of the dash. Yep. So with the dot notation, its readability is better, but it kind of has more restriction. If you want it to be sure that you can access it, you do a bracket notation. And again, it's a string, hence this one. Now you can see the Power Rangers, okay? And just to see that, you can also just put this back, string, say we want number. Also, we want a string array. So just to show, we can also put Rangers. And there's red, there's blue, there's black, green, and pink, yellow. Okay. And you access it with Rangers. Let's see. There you go. Red, blue, black, green, pink, and yellow. Okay. Next, we can also access, let's talk about arrays later. Okay. Let's talk about how to update the properties. Basically, you can just access that property, and then you assign a, say, TV show, and then Sentai Super, I forgot the name. Now you update the value of that, the key TV show, you updated the value of Power Rangers to Sentai Super, okay? Next is, let's see, updating a string to an object. Okay, we've done that. Error, we've done that. We've done updating of properties. Okay. Adding any types is okay, but dangerous. Deleting an entry. So if you want to delete something, you just use the delete keyword. See if it deletes though. There you go. So to delete a key value pairing, you just need to use the keyword delete, and again, call the object, use the bracket or dot notation to access that key, and it therefore deletes it. And whenever there's nothing, it becomes undefined, okay? How do we loop through objects. Let's say we want to loop through the things we have in the objects, okay? Aside from accessing the objects, we can also create a, using an enhanced for loop. So enhanced for loop basically has additional features using a certain for keyword, okay? So for example, we have for let x in mighty morphin, and then let's see, we want to console.log.x. There you go. Now we access all the keys of the object. Okay, how about if we want to get just the values of the objects? So instead we do this one, and then put x there instead. Okay. Again. So right now the x itself, it iterates over the string. It has an internal value of the axis. Yes, right. Right. Let's see. Okay. Any more questions with JSON objects? JSON? That's redundant. So again, JSON is used quite a lot. So let's say you have a backend server that's spitting out data. Usually it's in a JSON format so that you can consume it and parse the data. Usually they convert it into a string and manipulate the data. Before JSON, web servers are using a lot of this XML. But when JSON came, because it's more lightweight, that became the standard as sending data in the internet. Yep. Using for data interchanging. Okay. So there's more to JSON, and especially in Free Code Camp, it shows you a lot. And if you don't have questions, we'll go with arrays. Array. Okay. So to create an array, const r, let's say, the variable r, and you have the square brackets, and you can put 1, 2, 3, say a string. Okay, it does not let me, or I haven't console.log. Okay, say r. The console itself would show you that the array starts with 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. And also shows you the length, which is pretty nice in developer tools. And on the right-hand side, you can see the value. Sometimes it's called element, okay? So the left-hand side is called the index, or the place. The right-hand side is called the value, or the element, okay? Now we're also gonna use TypeScript to limit the data type. And also it's a best practice when you create your arrays. You should only have array of numbers, array of strings, but not mix. So try your best to make it homogeneous and not heterogeneous. Okay, so how do we do a type safe with arrays? Basically, we can just use the number, but now because it's an array, we should put the square brackets. And now it shows you that, hey, string is not assignable to a type of number. So we can go ahead and remove that. Show that again. Let's see. Okay, same goes with string. But if you really want to have two data types, you can do the pipe. Now this would allow you to do this. And again, the any. Okay, so next, so how do we access a specific element? So to access a specific element, we need to get their index. So let's say you want to access, let's put this as numbers. 10, 20, 30. Okay. Put this back to number. Okay. So to access a certain index and get its value, what you do is you put a bracket and the index number. Let's say you want the second one. What should you put in your what? Okay. There you go. We got the number 20. What if I put -1? What do I get? No, not absolute value. Undefined. Oh. Error in undefined. So again, in some languages like Python, if you do a -1, it grabs the last element, but here it doesn't. Okay. Next is there's another way to use the type safe. Instead of using this syntax, you can also use the array, then enclose in a less than greater than number. It should produce the same thing. Okay, same goes if it's string, just put string. Okay. Next is we've done multi-type array. And usually you would need to use for loops if you want to iterate over the string, okay? So to do that, let's do a for loop. And let's grab the length. You have access to the length method, or we can also call it as an API. So this can be used interchangeably. It means that the array in JavaScript, when you call length, it's a method of that array. Or you can also call it's an API of that array, okay? There you go. What happens is if I put an equal sign here, it's gonna go over the array, undefined, okay? Good question. With this given array, what is the length of the array? 3. So the length of the array counts the number of elements, okay? That's why you have this less than, because you want them to start with 0, then 1, then 2, then stop, because this is 0, 1, 2. 1, stop there, okay? Another way you can use that is using the for end, which we used a while ago. Okay, let's create a new one. Say languages. And let's say we want it to be a string array. Let's say English, Filipino. For let I in languages, and then languages. Log that out. Okay. And another one is you can use a for each that uses a callback function to iterate over them. For each dot languages. Function element. Console.log. No, that's wrong. It's just an element. And then close this one, close this one, and I have an extra one. This one. Okay. There we go. It's still the same. So if I remove this, it should be like that. Okay. So now, array is a basic data structure. You're gonna use them a lot, actually. So what are some of the ways we can utilize the methods? So one of the things is we can convert the array into just a string. Instead of an array object, we can make it to a string. So how do we do that? So basically, we have access to the toString function. Does not need any argument. Refresh. There we go. And we can check this one. It's a string. Okay. Also, to convert string back, you can just use a join. So let's say we have a string. And say I like to convert it to an array. You can do a console.log join. I don't know if this would work. Let's see if you can do S plus X maybe. And a separator value. There you go. So to use the join string API or method, you just have before it your string in a bracket, square bracket notation. And then in your join API, you should pass an argument, which is the separator that you want. So you can also change the separator. I did not put the separator. It did not appear. Oh, it didn't show up. So correction, this is not a separator, this is a join. So if it finds it, it will combine it. So if none, it will still combine it. Okay, so I think this was one for the objects. Yes, yes, correct. So again, arrays to string, to join, you would use that a lot. So if you go to hackathons, you would be consuming JSON. Yeah, that's good. Mm-hmm. It feels like you're doing the mm-hmm. One of the other? Oh, because I concatenated it. Yeah. Correct. Good catch. Okay. Convert to string using join. So let's do this again. Okay. It's a array API. Okay, so it's another way to join your arrays and make it to a string. Okay. Next is how do we manipulate the arrays? So if we want to add something to the array, we use the push method, and that is languages.push. Say what language do you want?
Filipino.
You already have that one.
Oh, push to add one.
Korean. Okay. So let's also log the whole array. So the first one is it pushed the word Korean. But also the push API returns the length of the array. So because now it's blank, English, Filipino, and Korean, that's 4. So it returns the length. But if you want to inspect the current state of that variable array, it includes the Korean now. Correct. Returns the number of items, elements, or values. Okay. Also, when we want to remove something, we use the pop. So let's do console.log. So let's say we put this back to Mandarin. Go English. No, no need. So pop basically removes the last element of your array, and also it push. So push adds it to the end of the array, so it becomes the last element. But pop removes the last element of the array. And also going back, the push not only puts an element in the array, it also returns the length of that array. You can now consume that value in whatever you want to do with it. With the pop, it's different. You remove the last element of the array, and it returns that value. Yeah, both of them are last. Okay? And that's why you see this one. The very first one is Korean. That's what got pop. It's Korean pop. Okay? I think with this, let's try. Nope. It says expected 0 arguments, but got 1. But I would believe because I know in Python, you can define the index. Yes. You can define the index and you pop it. And next is when you want to remove, let's say, oh, another way to add an element to the end is this one. So you need to call the variable of the array languages. And again, what the bracket notation is saying that, hey, access this certain index. But again, languages.length, the length right now is 1, 2, 3. And the index that we have is 0, 1, 2. So it's saying, hey, access me index number 3 and assign this value. Let's see. Correct. It's just a tricky, it's a nice to know, but don't use it. Okay. What if you want to remove the first element in the array? Correct. Okay, just do shift. Now it shows Mandarin. Okay, what if you want to add and shift? Okay. Also, it returns the length. Next, we can use the splicing. With splicing, you can cut your array. What would be this output? Splice 0, 1. No, basically it will kind of slice it. So it says that, hey, remove the first element. How? So you start off with 0 index. How many? So if you go back, if you put 0, 0, you get everything. It's like you did nothing. If you want to remove one element, you put 1. Want to remove 2, you put 2. Okay? Where do you want to start? Let's say you start at index 1, remove 2. You only get the first one. Okay? Also, we can also copy arrays using the spread operator. A spread basically is just the ellipses, triple dots. Okay? We can have new language equals ... languages. That okay. Should get you the same one. There we go. Okay. Merging arrays. So merging arrays, it's something like a string. You concatenate them as well, but you need to access the concat API. So if I want to put them together, I access one and use concat, and then supply the other one as the parameter. Now I have both of them. Okay. Any more questions in arrays? Okay, pretty easy. I'll then move on to the muddiest point. I think I have, okay. Oh, okay, I'll give you some productivity tips then. So if you want to comment all of them, you do in Mac, command, control, maybe control, okay? Try it. So highlight your code, command, K, C. If you want to undo it, command, K, U. It does, because it's a VS Code. You would have the maybe control. Hold the control, then K, then C. Okay, and then to undo, control, K, U. Okay, another tip, if I want to copy the same statement, I hold Alt, Shift, down, 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 down. Also, if I want to edit multiple, this is an easy shortcut as well. You click the Alt, hold the Alt, click the lines that you want. Magic! Yeah, there's a lot of productivity keyboard shortcut that's really helpful to code, especially if you do it every day. Mm-hmm. If you want to move the line, if you're like tired of Control-C, Control-V, you can hold the Alt button. So wherever your cursor is highlighted, you hold the Alt button and you move it around. Okay, I think I'll also post that in the Blackboard. Good to know. Okay, let's go with the muddiest point. So someone asked, parsing a CSV file and convert to array than JSON. Wow, that was hard. But I Googled around and kind of got an easy code. I think it should be, let me just grab it. I do have a sample CSV here. Perfect. I'll also provide the code later, okay? Let's go muddiest point. And I'll copy this. However, though, I couldn't find the like TypeScript equivalent of it because I've been searching. It's like a lot of people has been raising issue. Hey, why is it not working in TypeScript? Can you provide this support in TypeScript as well? Blah, blah, blah. So at least now you can still use it in a plain vanilla JavaScript file. So let me just run this. Node demo.js. Okay. Wait, requires not defined. Let's see. Oh, there you go. Sorry, it already spit out. So I think you can just manipulate this code and however you want to trim, split it on whatever. Okay. So as you can see, this one, you get access to reading a file. And when you read the file, it usually is a buffer first. And that's a new thing for me as well. I don't know about buffer. So with buffer, you convert it to a string. And then you can now use the split function if you want to split it. Right now, they use the /n, which is new line. You already know that. And then now the map function, we'll talk more about that in other modules. But basically what this is doing is remove white spaces for each line. And the other map function is splitting each line to array. So the first conversion was array. And then they use this JSON.stringify. Basically just means, hey, make this JSON to string. I think correct, yeah. Correct. Takes a string, makes it to a JSON. Okay, because you got, okay, so that's CSV to array or JSON. So next muddiest point, someone asked about REST parameters. And basically, the REST parameters also uses the same ... which is the spread operator. And let me grab that code. So let's do first the example from the textbook. And kind of don't like the textbook as well. It's super hard to understand. I don't understand what they're talking about most of the time. How about you guys? The Eloquent for JavaScript? Yeah. I think it's good if you have some knowledge, but if you don't, like the analogies are super weird. That's what I feel about it. We're a squirrel, right? And you get eaten by a cat or? So it's like, and you have tentacles. I only know tentacles in Japanese stuff, right? So okay, this one, that was okay. So let's grab another example that's easier to understand. This one. Okay, so what basically this REST parameter does is basically it says that you can put a lot of arguments. Let me highlight it. Okay, that one. Okay, so first let's start with this one. It says I call the function sum. And let's say I put 1, 2, 3 as my parameters, right? And here it says that hey, put this into the array. All of my arguments or parameters, parameters. Okay. Now when the code blocks execute, it just uses hey, can you use this array API or method called reduce? So the reduce API or method, it requires two things. One is, I kind of forgot. I think the first one is, there's the aggregator. Let me double check. Reduce function. Yep, so you have the total value, current value. Or in this case, they use the previous one and current one. You can, again, assign any names, but it can get confusing as well. So what this basically do is you just have this REST parameter, then now you can input as many numbers as you want. And with the reduce method, it sums it up. Okay, I think there's another code that we can get an example, and this one is a string. Okay. So in this case, you have a function named greet, and you can pass two parameters. One is a string, the other one is a REST parameter. So as many as you want. And then the return type is string, this one. Okay, inside the code block, you would see return. So return me the value of greeting, concatenate it with a space, and concatenate it with a names.join, which is an API of, again, array. And then join those strings and put an exclamation mark afterwards. So let's say you do hello, Steve and Bill. You should get hello, Steve, comma, Bill. Okay, if we add more, let's see if we can refresh this though. And console.log, oops, let's put it here. There we go. So if we add one more, ash, oh no, wrong one. There you go. So again, REST parameters, you can put as much argument as you want. One thing to note, if you switch it, it will complain. So the REST parameter should always be at the end. A REST parameter must be last in the parameter list. Okay, let me see. I think there's one more muddiest point. Unions. Okay, unions is just a way that you include one and the other. So union, instead of the intersection where you just get the same one. Okay, so in unions, and grab this code. Okay, so basically it says, let's start with, you have let's zoom in, let's make this bigger. Like this. Oh, no. Okay, so you have a variable sum, and you assign the data types with your variable nums with the data type number, and the pipe operator means or a union of a data type numbers array. Okay, then I want you to return a number. Okay, this is an arrow function. It's just another way you declare functions. Okay, inside the function block, which is this one, if the type of the parameter nums is a number, return the number. Okay, if not, if it's a number array, which is this one, okay, please reduce it. Okay, meaning what we done earlier is sum it all. Okay, to go back again with the syntax, arrowhead is just another syntax to have your function, to create your function. This is the code block. This is a ternary operator, if you remember in your conditionals. This is the evaluation. The question after the question mark is if it's true, and after the colon if it's false. So that's it. Any questions? I think it's a shortcut, or already, no, it's a shortcut for ternary operators.
Oh, okay, so there's some sugar in there.
Sugar. Sure. I have another example for the unions. Okay. This time around again, a string, or yeah, string. Address type. So in this time around, you have a JSON object in your find address. So first, you created a type, address type, and then you assigned a data or address. You assign a data type string. You want the return type address. So it's a custom data type. Okay. Inside the function, after the arrowhead, you have another variable, now a JSON object. In JSON object, a key value pairing. I think this is wrong. Do this instead. And then it says return this one, but it's saying an error. And with the parameter string was found on type Tom, string Tom. Let's see. Key. There you go. Now this one. String. Comma. What is it? Comma. Okay. So we can move on from this. Let's reinforce you with the slides. I hope that would help. Oh, break. I'll just go over this quickly. Okay. No break, so you guys can just do hands-on, right? Mother. Okay, let's do this quickly. Because I guess already has been reinforced with the live coding, hands-on, pre-code camp. So let's do this quickly. Sure. Hello. Objects. So JavaScript, you have objects. The naming convention is JSON. We call it JSON. That's my name. Again, that's my name. JSON. Okay. This is how it looks like. It's the key value pairing. On the left-hand side, you have the key. On the right-hand side, you have the value. You can also have objects inside objects. Okay. Also, in JavaScript, in the official documentation, it's called property value, key value. But usually it's called key value pairing. Okay? In other the old days, XML was used, but because it's lightweight, it's now commonly used for data interchanging. Again, you can quickly spin up your simple front-end HTML, consume and open weather API, and parse data to check what's the weather status. Basically, a collection of name value pairs. It's also similar to record, struct, dictionary, hash table, keep this, associative arrays. It's also an ordered list of values. In most languages, this is realized as an array, vector, list, or sequence. Collection of property, you start with braces. And we already talked about this. Properties are in string format only. The can be string, numbers, boolean, array, object, null, or even undefined, I think. This one is assigning variables. Just create a variable name. Don't forget to let R when to use that. Next is the dot notation and the bracket notation. Dot notation, just write the words.
Comment on numbers as property names. You can do it, but do not use dot notation.
Correct. So here, in dot notation, you can only use it if it has the underscore, $sign, not starting with a number. Second one. It also contains variable names. Bracket notation, you can use it for string. With spaces, let's say TV space show. You can't really use that for dot notation. Use a bracket notation. Next, know this. Keyword to delete the object property or the key. For in, wait over it, you get all the key. This one. And the value, let's say, of Kevin A with this nested JSON object. You basically call the variable and you access it with the dot notation. And then this time around, there's another object, TAs, and then another dot notation to access this key, TA1, to access Kevin A. Okay? Bad practice, declaring string, booleans, numbers as a new object again. Please don't do that. So the structure looks like this. String, value, okay? Arrays, single is used to store different elements, and it is often used when we want to store a list by your single variable, okay? Elements are the values, index are the places. Arrays are also objects. You have for loops for each, every, and map to iterate over the array or loop over the. You also have there you go, for loops. For each, you need a function, which is a callback function. So what every does, if it's true, it gets it. If false, no, if everything is true, then this code all are less than 10. If at least one is not true, it will execute this. At least one element is not less than 10. Okay. Map function, we'll talk more about the functions as well. Basically, it just returns a new array for now. Methods that you need for your life: hop, unshift, shift, sort, slot. It will be really helpful when you're doing the coding challenges, knowing those APIs. Array structure, square bracket, square, this again, bracket. Okay, I think we're done. Break time. The every so
Yeah.
okay.
What's the difference between that and then like while?
So this function, it basically takes in so it takes in an argument. The argument is an array, right? So what is under function? This is a function. A function also you can assign to a variable. So this is a function. Now, this one is used to evaluate for x or that is less than 10. So what it does is, hey, index 0, am I less than 10? Okay, true. Am I less than 10? False. So if we see one false in every, it will immediately false. If everything is less than 10,